What's next? Well, let me see here. Speaking of what I just mentioned about suggesting at some point, and unless we put a stop to this madness, it will happen, suggesting at some point that women who exercise sovereignty over their own bodies and terminate a pregnancy could face the death penalty. Well, Democratic lawmakers are trying to convince the tech giants like Apple and Google to protect user data that would be related to abortions because of the mounting fears that this coming reversal of Roe v. Wade could turn that information, whether or not a woman has had or plans to have or may have in the future an abortion, that could become a powerful surveillance tool for fascist Christian law enforcement. And what this effort by the Democrats is casting a spotlight on is that there's no federal data privacy law in place. There is none. And Democrats in Washington have very limited means at their disposal to try to prevent tech companies from scooping up and sharing sensitive health information with the authorities in these states that are now run by fascist Christians. I live in one, Georgia. And there's some that are a lot worse politically than Georgia. So the Democrats are relying on public plea and trying to ratchet up pressure by spotlighting how these so-called services offered by Silicon Valley's giants could be and probably will be by the states run by the fascist Christians deployed to target people seeking abortion once the Supreme Court decision that we all know about is made public. So what they're saying is what the Democrats are trying to do is to prevent these tech companies from giving information. For example, the woman decides she wants to abort a fetus. And she goes online. She may be living in a state where it's illegal, but she goes online to find where the nearest provider of abortion services could be located. And that information then is, boom, it's there forever. You know the internet. When you go on the internet, every goddamn thing you do, don't think hitting the delete key makes anything go away, because it doesn't. So the woman goes online searching for an abortion provider. And then one of the fascist Christians, one of the commanders, you might say, hears about this and says to the tech company, we want that information. Well, the tech company, I don't know how they can hide behind their refusal, if they would offer refusal to share that information, but there's no legal protection that says they would be prevented through a subpoena from delivering that information. And once the fascist Christians in our imaginary state has the information, attempted murder might be the charge leveled against a woman who is doing an internet search. You see how this is spiraling out of control for normal people, but into the control of these filthy, goddamn bloody hands of these cultists? So last Friday, according to the Washington Post, a group of 5 Senate Democrats that was led by Ed Markey, Massachusetts, these Democrats urged Apple and Google to ensure that third-party services on their app stores, quote, do not employ data practices that threaten the well-being of individuals seeking abortion services, end quote. See, the problem is with Google and Apple, just using those two as examples, maybe the state where abortion is fully outlawed, maybe they don't gather the information, but it comes to them from a third party. The little fascist Christian vigilantes who are constantly snooping around and checking your vulva and your scrotum and looking for things that they can report up the food chain to the high priests of these mad son of a bitches. Anyway, that followed a separate letter from Senator Wyden, Democrat of Oregon, and 40 congressional Democrats calling on Google to, quote, stop unnecessarily collecting and retaining customer location data, end quote. And Wyden's group, 40 congressional Democrats, are asking Google to stop using their website to identify people who have had abortions. And these Democratic members of Congress wrote this in their letter to Google, quote, if abortion is made illegal by the far-right Supreme Court and Republican lawmakers, it is inevitable that right-wing prosecutors will obtain legal warrants to hunt down, prosecute, and jail women for obtaining critical reproductive health care, end quote. Now, yesterday, which was a holiday, granted, but Google and Apple neither returned a request for comment from the Washington Post. Surely they will respond to this, won't they? Google and Apple? Of course they will. They're not anti-woman, are they? They're not anti-privacy, are they? Come on, Mike. They're not anti-U.S. Constitution, are they? Is any of that true? Back to this idea that Democrats in Congress are asking Silicon Valley tech giants to safeguard. Well, they're referring to it as abortion data. It's actually privacy data. See, this is what has irritated the hell out of me for 50 years. Roe v. Wade was about a constitutional right implied of privacy, which included the right of a woman to seek an abortion if she chose to. And it's not referred to that way as the right to privacy, the right to a woman's sovereignty over her own reproductive system. I mean, Jesus, how invasive can a government get? I mean, seriously, what is more invasive than saying to a woman, we want to know if you are pregnant and what you are going to do about that pregnancy? I mean, it's just staggering. Anyway, Democrats who are pushing for these tech companies to shut the fuck up and to block this information from being available if somebody is seeking an abortion and uses the internet to find abortion services or whatever, they're hoping to capitalize on one of their few advantages on this issue, and that's a newly put together majority at the Federal Trade Commission. It's 3-2 now, 3 sane people and 2 fascist Christians. And it's the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, which enforces privacy violations. And the FTC could help crack down on these sweeping, wide open collections of health data and privacy violations. Jesus, God. And then in another letter that was led by Senator Amy Klobuchar of Minnesota, over a dozen Democrats called on the Federal Trade Commission to say what steps, quote, it's taking, this is Klobuchar's words, what steps the FTC is taking to ensure data brokers are not collecting, buying, or selling sensitive location data that put people, particularly those seeking medical attention, at risk, end quote. Now, it's being done already. I mean, go online and type in something for I don't know, let's pick something, a clinic for chronic headaches. And I will guarantee you within 24 hours, if that long, your inbox will be, if not flooded, there certainly will be a number of advertisements for clinics that treat chronic headaches or potions or chemicals or palliatives or what have you. And this is what the Democrats are saying to the tech giants. You've got to stop at least the sharing of information by women who are seeking to exercise sovereignty over their own bodies, where it concerns privacy and abortion. It's nobody's fucking business because it will be used against them. Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. As you know, we've switched formats and are now broadcast exclusively on the Progressive Voices Network. So that means you get fewer program interruptions, no corporate commercials, and lots of profanity. But our format change also means some of our radio listeners no longer hear the program. It's been a while since I mentioned our podcasts, so you may have forgotten that there is a way to listen to this program anytime you need a good dose of screaming. Visit MikeMalloy.com and subscribe to our podcast. As a podcast subscriber, you can download the program to your mobile device and take me with you wherever you go. And if you have a friend who needs a dose of truth-seeking, you can give a gift subscription as well. That's MikeMalloy.com, and never miss a minute of the uncensored fun and frivolity.